All right, well, this is my Unit 2 sit down interview for online government. Hello, sir. What's your
Hello,
name and age?
Doug Logston. I'm 50 years old.
All right, all right. Um, can you identify all the places that you get your daily news, like local or world news from?
The majority of my news comes from television with Today in the morning, evening newscast, national newscast, a local newscast,
Like
and
Good
then
Morning America?
no, the Today Show.
Today Show.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and then but similar.
Mm-hmm.
And then also online, I have apps on my phone for different local news stations as well as like USA Today, Kansas City Star, those type of things.
Okay, cool. Um, what is your interest level in the government, and how has that changed over the years?
I think as most people grow older, at least mine, my interest level has grown with the government and what the government is doing. Part of that is, I think, having kids. You want to think about what the future holds for the world, for our country, make sure that it's a good place for them to grow up and also raise families. But also, I think you just become more aware of the things around you as you grow older, especially what's going on with the government and how it affects you in your everyday life.
Okay, cool. In your opinion, how much power should the government have?
Uh, that's an interesting question. I mean, there's obviously power in the government, and we give them that power, at least in the United States, as the people who elect our officials. And if you think about a society without a government, obviously we don't want that. But we don't want a government that has ultimate power and rule over us. And you've seen some of those in movies and books and whatnot, um, especially here in the past few years. But I think the power that the government is important. It's important with regard to a nation state, but you don't want it to be overriding with some of your personal freedoms and expressions.
Sure. All right. Um, do you think the U.S. right now is fulfilling the vision that our founding fathers had when they created the government?
I would say partially. I think they would be surprised on some things as well that goes on in our government today. I think they'd be surprised with regard to how we have now have what seem to be career politicians instead of people that go to Washington to serve their term or terms. There seem to be a lifetime, or at least a somewhat of a lifetime career out of different congressmen. But I do think overall that with the checks and balances in our government, the framework and the tenets that the founding fathers put together are still there.
Okay, sweet. So do you think they'd be proud that there's that the guess like I guess outline is still there?
Yeah, I think the it's amazing to me to think about something that a group of individuals put together so many years ago, hundreds of years ago, um, that still is the cornerstone and foundation of our democracy today, and in large part it still holds true. Now, some of the things that I think that we're seeing in different things in modern times would be maybe a little shocking to them, but overall, those tenets and framework that they put together still holds true today.
Why do you think that the separation of powers and having a checks and balances system within the branches of government is important?
I think it's foundational to living in a free society. So no one, whether it's a legislative, the presidential, or judicial branch, no one branch has ultimate authority, but collectively they form the separation of powers that allow us to govern, but in a manner that protects, I think, freedoms of everyday people, and also provides some checks and balances. So, for one way or the other, we don't lean too far one way, we don't lean too far the other way. We actually hear different voices and opinions and able to make decisions appropriately.
Going off of that, have you seen or do you remember any situations that have when like the government or like a certain branch has had to use checking, like say checking another branch of government during a situation?
Today, so I would say in more modern times, in your lifetime, there's been an assertion of the executive powers, or I could argue right, wrong, or indifferent, but there's been an assertion of executive powers that wasn't seen in previous generations. Again, just occurred today in the news today relative to the border wall, that the bill would be funded to open up the government, and that then Trump would exercise his presidential authority to route additional funds to do other border construction for the wall. That will be a constitutional argument that will happen probably in the courts, I would see. But that is something that continues to try to perhaps change the way the government and those frameworks were initially created, and maybe not for the good, because we want to make sure that those checks and balances are there.
All right, sweet. Well, that's all I have. Thanks.
All right, thank you.